1, 2, 3, 4. New music. Out of the box. Q1043.
And Wayne Coyne, founder, songwriter, guitar player for the Flaming Lips. Welcome back to New York, man.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. All right.
20th anniversary of the band. In 2002, you released Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots with some amazing critical acclaim. Now, I don't know, it reminds me of John Lennon so much for some reason. From Yoshimi, Fight Test, which for some reason I always want to call Fight Club. I don't know why.
A lot of people do. They say, hey, Wayne, I like that Fight Club song. And I'm like, Fight Test.
Fight Test. What's that song about?
You know, there's somewhere in there is this choice of the individual, how he decides, what's worth fighting for and what isn't. And I you come up with songs and they sort of are stories and you don't really know where they're going to go. And I always end up sort of battling the cosmos. And that's where I this line about, I don't know where sunlight ends and starlight begins, sunbeams end or starlight begins. And there's some sort of cosmic duality going on there. But when you put it in the structure of a song, it just sort of sounds like a little story about a guy who's wishing that he had fought for the love of his life. And because he thought he was taking the higher road by saying, I think it's better not to fight, he lost all the things that were valuable to him. And so it's a struggle, and I think it's an individual struggle. And the song it wasn't banned in England, but last month it was supposed to be released in England, and the radio stations didn't want to play it because they didn't know if it was anti-war or pro-war, and they just thought, it's too controversial, we don't want to play it because...
It's not amazing that still happens.
Well, in a way, I'm glad. I'm glad that people are listening and are trying to get some meaning from songs, that it isn't all just about having sex or something like that. And there are, there's a lot of room for expression.
Yeah, it's a great song, man. And that, of course, the excellent song Fight Test from the Flaming Lips, Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots CD, here on Q1043's Out of the Box. Jonathan Clarke hanging in the studio live with Wayne Coyne from the Flaming Lips. And Wayne has autographed some copies of the Fight Test EPs and the Yoshimi albums. So let's take caller 25 right now, toll free at 1-888-872-1043 for both of them. So good luck with that. Another great song off the Yoshimi album, Do You Realize? Tell us about that one.
This is one of those songs that you don't know the power of when you do it. I mean, because sometimes they're so simple that you think it's either going to really work or it's just good. People are going to laugh at you. And sometimes because we have to do so much, you can't give it too much thought. So you're sort of flying by the seat of your pants all the time. And we'll set up our recording sessions with Dave Fridman up in his studio, and sometimes they go for 2 weeks at a time. We kind of have an agenda of what we want to start working on or whatever. And one of the songs went too long, and at the very end of the session, we only had one day. I wanted to get started on this song, Do You Realize? I played it for the guys, and they were like, okay, let's see what happens with this. And we will start to lay down tracks, which could end up being 30 tracks, could end up being 300 tracks. I mean, there really is an element of desperation and chaos when we start to do a track because you don't really know where it's going to go. But because we only had the one day, it came across really simple. It was just a couple of guitars and me singing, and it really was, in some ways, more of a typical production. Like a lot of bands will just go in there and play songs and won't worry about the 300 tracks. And because we only had a couple hours to work on it, it came across very simple. So because it was the last day in the studio, people always want to hear what we're doing, and here's what we started to work on. And people heard this song and said, oh, Wayne, that's so simple and so beautiful. That's wonderful how you guys did that. And they're thinking that's what took us 3 weeks to do.
Oh, right, yeah.
And because it's so simple that we must have known to make it like that. But it wasn't. It was just the other way around. We were getting ready to do some work on it, and it remained simple because we hadn't done anything to it. But I think that was what got people. It's like, oh, the lyrics and all that. And again, even the lyrics, I thought if people heard it and didn't understand, I would just change them. I don't think about it that much. And especially the line where it says, everyone you know someday will die. And it's almost too simple to think that it is going to have some meaning. But like I say, if you think about it too much, you start second guessing. And that line, I remember when I would play it for people and they're hearing it for the first time, they're just like, oh, Wayne, how'd you know? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, you just get lucky that a song sort of pours out of you and one thing rhymes with the next and you stumble upon this stuff.
It's a quick one.
Yeah, and the lyrics and the melody and all those things sort of come together. But I don't think it's any craft that you can get down and you think, oh, I know this is going to work. You simply say it and it works and it moves people. And I say, gosh, I'm lucky.
That is Do You Realize? Another great song from the Flaming Lips' Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robot CD here on Q1043's Out of the Box. Jonathan Clarke live in the studio with Wayne Coyne from the Lips. And is it possible that we hear a little Phil Spector influence on that song with the bells and everything?
I would, in a way, I would think, but there's so much music that when you think about the range of what the Flaming Lips, I mean, because we listen to all kinds of music. And in a way, I could see where people who associate us with being more rock and roll and production would think Phil Spector. But the truth is, I think it's really it's Christmas music. I mean, I love...
You get that sort of...
Yeah, I love Christmas music. I play Christmas music
Darlene
year-round
Love,
at my house. You know?
Yeah.
I have a clock. I have a bunch of clocks in my kitchen. And one of them, on the hour, will play a little piece of a Christmas song. There's another one that does frog croaks from around the world. Another one is trains from mid-century, and another one is supposed to be a bunch of cats, but I think it's only one meow. So
it doesn't do the meow, 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 meow. That's
no, it says,
okay.
Yeah. And so, if you come to my house at lunchtime and it hits 12 o'clock, you hear a concoction of
That's
frogs,
wonderful.
Christmas music, a train, and yeah. But I love Christmas music, so I think somewhere in there I'm always reaching for that kind of, I don't know, it's religious without being, without being literally religious. It's reaching some peak up there, and bells and choirs and all that thing. It almost can add some sort of reaching or something. And I don't know if it does that to everybody, but it certainly does that to me. And part of that's in that song.
So let's take caller 25 right now, toll free at 1-888-872-1043 for a copy of the Yoshimi album that we've been hearing, as well as the Fight Test EP, both of them from the Flaming Lips, both of them autographed by Wayne. Now, you just played Roseland here in the city, on tour till I guess about the first week of May. Will we see the band coming back our way in late summer?
Well, I don't
fall,
know. There's a couple
like
of festival things that we're thinking about doing, and I'm not sure because there's a lot of different things that are going on in August, and we may be playing some shows with Bjork even.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, and I know we've been even talking to Radiohead about playing some shows with them, maybe even REM. So I don't know. I mean, we're always looking for
fellow label mates, REM.
Yeah, the new adventure, to see what else is out there, to play to new people. Not that we don't love our audience. Our audience is the most wonderful audience. I mean, and I mean that. In every band probably says that about their audience, but our audience is so, to stand in that audience when they're singing along and laughing and just, gosh, experiencing all that. It's it's a great thing. So I'm never looking to get away from our audience. I'm just looking to have a new adventure. And
what would you say is better, when people are singing your lyrics at a concert, when you get that little happy 10-minute thing where all of a sudden a song just comes to you like that, hearing your song on the radio, what's the most
they
satisfying?
are different thrills. I mean, I remember hearing one of our songs on the radio for the first time. We were pulling into Minneapolis, and we were in a van. We're going to play a gig at the famous little venue, the 7th Street Entry, which holds about 25 people, And we pulled into town, and we heard our song on the radio. This is before we ever heard it in Oklahoma or anything. We almost wrecked the van, And then we gained control and almost wrecked it again.
Wow.
I mean, it's so exciting.
That
we're really being played on the radio, and it's not one of your friends. It's a guy who could choose what he wanted to play, and here he is playing it in the middle of the afternoon. That's pretty exciting. That's hard to beat, especially, when it's the first time. But this thrill that happens when you're there nightly, because I'm going to do this show every night, and that sort of thing, if we're lucky, will happen every night. We were talking about it. It's like when you're at I don't know, if you go to football games or sporting events, it's like the very last minute when the score is tied and they're going to kick the field goal.
Pandemonium.
And when your team wins, and you just explode. Yet, at a football game, it just happens, and then you stand there, and it's over. And
right.
And you want to stay in the stands and feel
Enjoy
that energy.
It.
Yeah. Well, the Flaming Lips show, it's like, well, we'll just do another song. And then we do the touchdown or the field goal again. And I think, people forget how much being around other people that are enjoying themselves and letting all that go, that really is the thing that's most powerful about sports and music and all that, is that release of being around people doing that. And so I want that to happen. And I think a Flaming Lips show without the audience sort of giving that love to each other and all that, it wouldn't be that much.
Right.
It would just be people up there, an old guy up there pouring blood on his head singing songs. But but when the audience does that, it's just to stand there and be in that audience.